sessions. Thanks everybody for joining. So this is an overview of our new ePro scheduler scheduling software. As you may or may not be aware, Crew Scheduler, which is our current software, is going away. Zoll that writes it determined that they are going to sunset the product and it will cease to exist December 31st at the end of this year. We got told July last year that that was going to happen, and so we've been actively working on trying to find a new scheduling software that'll meet our needs, and we came up with ePro. ePro has a whole bunch of services and features that we don't currently have in Crew Scheduler, so I think that you guys are all going to like this a whole lot better. I've got a PowerPoint that I've got a few slides on, maybe 15, 16 slides, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on the PowerPoint. We're just going to blast through those slides as quickly as we can, and then we'll actually go into the software and review what all it does. So that's sort of the agenda for this evening. If you do have any questions, if you're dialed in, feel free to unmute and just ask them or type them into the chat window, and pretty informal session. We'll just kind of move forward. So what is ePro Scheduler? It is obviously our new scheduling software. You can view your current and future schedules in it just like you can with Crew Scheduler. But one of the nice new features that it has is you have the capability of syncing your calendar with this new software. So if you have an iOS device or an Android device, any mobile phone, you can actually set it up to sync so that your schedule automatically gets dumped into your phone or whatever calendaring system that you're using. And I'll walk you through how to do that in a few minutes here. If you're a full-time employee, you'll be able to request time off in the system, and we'll walk through that. You'll be able to request shift swaps, which is a new feature that we don't have in the old system. But basically, if you're on a shift and you can't work that shift anymore, and you know somebody specifically who's going to cover that shift for you, you can request a shift swap, and the shift swap goes into a workflow where you send it to them. They then approve that shift swap. That shift swap then moves on to one of the schedulers, either Dusty or Megan or Bev, and they approve that shift swap, and then that shift gets automatically transferred to that new person. So that's kind of a cool feature that we'll review how that works. You'll also be able to view your vacation and sick balances. Again, if you're a full-time employee, right now you can only see that on your paycheck every other week, but you'll be able to see it in the system here, and that ties into requesting time off. So if you request time off, it'll view your vacation balance, make sure you have that balance available before it'll approve that for you. We're going to ask individuals to start approving their time cards each pay week or each pay period, and that's a new system change for us, and we'll go through how you approve and make sure that your time card is accurate. You'll be able to bid and request to work for open shifts, just like you can bid in Crew Scheduler now. One of the other new features, you'll be able to view your certification information. All of your certs that you have, your CPR, ACLS, paramedic state certs, driver's license, you'll be able to view all of that information, and there is a notification system that 60 days before one of those certs expires, and then again 30 days, and then starting with 10 days before it expires, you'll get an everyday countdown that cert is going to expire. Kind of an automated system for certification tracking, which is nice. You'll be able to submit updates to your profile, your addresses, cell phone numbers, emergency contact information, as well as upload new certifications as you get them. You'll be able to submit your work availability just like you can in Crew Scheduler now, and we'll walk through exactly how that works. What it pretty much does is if you bid for shifts and you don't get a shift, but you have additional availability and you're looking for some overtime or some additional shifts, you can put in your availability, and then when we have somebody who calls out sick, those that submit their availability, their names will bubble up to the top of the call list, and conversely, those that say that they're not available for a particular day, their names will bubble down to the bottom of the call list. So hopefully that'll prevent you from, if we already know or you already know you can't work that day, you won't be getting those random phone calls begging you to work anymore. And then finally, the last of the new features, you'll be able to send messages to both the scheduler as well as to individual employees in the system without having to know their email address. And you will also be able to send messages to message groups. So if you're a paramedic, for example, and you are trying to cover a shift, you can, in one fell swoop, send a message to every paramedic in the entire system, and that way you'll be able to determine whether or not somebody can cover your shift for you or not. So how do you get into Crew Scheduler? So there's a couple of different ways. It's a URL. It's eProplus.com/Stadium Medical. So either write down or in the email I sent, everybody should have a copy of that link. Or if you can't remember that because it's sort of a long, not so user-intuitive link, if you just go to the Stadium Medical website here, and you float down. Zach, I hear you guys that you lost internet there at OHQ. Hopefully it'll come back here shortly, but you can get audio in the meantime. You just go to the employee portal section here, and there's a link for ePro Scheduler, and so you could just click that link, and that will take you to the ePro Scheduler site. So all you really need to remember is go to the Stadium Medical site, and you'll be able to get in that way. The first time you need to get in, your user name is first initial, last name by default, with very few conflicts there. There's a couple people that had similar initials and last names, and we had to make some changes there. So if you have a problem getting in, get a hold of us, either myself or Megan. We can look up your username and password if you need to, but it should be first initial, last name, and your password is your payroll employee ID number for the first time. When you put that in, it's going to tell you that you now have an expired password, and you need to change it to something new that is unique to you, and then you'll be able to get in that way using the new password that you changed it to. So again, if you have any issues or problems, feel free to give either Megan or I a call, and we can get you in. So once you're in, this is the screen that you'll see, ePro Scheduler Plus screen. Depending on where you are, you may see a couple of different buttons down here. If you're logging in from home, you'll just see the login screen. If you're logging in from work, where all those computers are authorized as time clocks, you will see both of the time clock and login buttons here. And when you do need to log in, all you do is click the time clock button, and this is the screen that you'll see on eCore punch in, punch out button. So you put your username, your password in, and just punch in and punch out on the computer, just like you do in Crew Scheduler now. We have a 7-minute grace period window on each side of a shift. So if your shift is scheduled at 10 a.m., then you can punch in as early as 7 minutes before 10 a.m. You can punch out for your shift as late as 7 minutes after your shift ends, and it'll just automatically take that punch. If you need to punch in either earlier than that or later than that, it will require a timekeeper note. It'll allow you to still punch in and punch out, but you need to put in that timekeeper note as to why you're punching in either extremely early or why you got a late call, and why you're punching out late as a result of that late call. So that's the punch in, punch out process. Again, the computer that's in the break room will have this as a time clock. One of the other features that we've enabled is if you are responding or have a shift that's at a venue, you will for the first time now be able to punch in and punch out using your cell phone. So we think that that's a pretty cool feature. The one thing to keep in mind is in addition to recording the date and time of your punch in and punch out, if you do use a mobile device to punch in and punch out, it will record the GPS location of that particular phone at the time that you punched in and punched out. So if you have a shift at the Pepsi Center, you're welcome to use your phone to punch in at the Pepsi Center, but your geographic location should probably be somewhere in the Pepsi Center location before you actually do that. If you're doing it from I-25 somewhere because you're late for your shift and you're trying to punch in and fake the system out, just know that we're going to know that because it does the GPS coordinates. No, there is not a particular phone application to do that. It's just the same URL for punching in and punching out. It is mobile optimized, so it looks a little bit different on your phone, but if you go to that same URL, you can just punch in and punch using either Safari or Chrome or whatever application you use on your phone. Good question, Sean. Once you do punch in, here is the dashboard that you'll see. It's got some common information that you'll need on kind of an everyday basis. It'll have your calendar right here on a quick view for you. It'll have date and time. It'll show your mailbox with any messages. It'll show a bulletin board with any particular notifications that we're pushing out, a copy of all of your certifications and their expirations, and your qualifications. And we'll talk a little bit about the difference between qualifications and certifications as we get into the actual system here. So I'll talk about that in just a second. Your shift pickup and availability capabilities are here on the dashboard also, so you can quickly look at shifts that are available to be picked up and bid on, as well as just some other general information, your messages in your dashboard. The way you navigate the system on the left-hand side is pretty standard for most websites now. You just have a bunch of menu items here that you can click into, and then the particulars for that menu are here. Like I said, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the PowerPoint because we'll actually go into the system so that I can show you that. Your schedule info is listed here. There's a couple of different ways you can view your schedule. In a list view, right here, it's going to show all of your upcoming shifts, as well as if you drill down here, any pickup requests that you have, any bids, any shift swap requests, any time off requests, and your shift availability are all listed on the one screen under schedule info. You can also look at it via a couple of different ways. You can look at it in this list view, or you can look at it by the day or by the week or by the month, or you can actually go into a calendar view. If you look at it on the calendar view, it's going to show all of your shifts in a dark blue like this. And then there's multiple calendars that we have in the system right now. We've got the clinical education calendar in, and you can toggle that and toggle that off if you want, so that you can see training or your shifts or any meetings and a couple of different things that we're going to be putting into the system. Like we talked about earlier, there is a ePro personal calendar syncing link, and there is some information here as well as in the regular system about how you link it to your iOS device, your Google Calendar, Office 365, anything that supports iCal or CalSync allows that to work. When you're bidding on shifts, you'll just go into the pickup shift area, and everything in the entire system works on a pay week period now, or a 2-week pay period system. So you drop the date range down for what you're looking for. It'll show you all of the shifts that are available, and we'll walk through this specifically so you can see how you bid. There is a shift swap section that we talked about. Again, if you're swapping shifts for an individual person that you know is going to work that shift, you can just put that into the system automatically. Here's where your availability is going to look like. Ours looks a little bit different, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this particular slide, but this is where you're going to just adjust your particular availability. For full-time employees, again, there's a time off request form in here where you could just view and review your time off requests and add more extended periods or single days if you need them.
Dang, I really wanted to make Krispy Kreme donuts, but
I am going to mute a couple of people here because I'm getting a bunch of feedback.
Like 9% down, she has the multiple choices impossible.
There we go. That's who it was. All right. Your personal profile information. We're going to go through this also individually on each as we get into the regular system here. But one of the first things that we want you to do when you log into the system is go into your personal profile, review your personal information, make sure that everything looks correct, submit any updates that you need to submit, and we'll go through each of those 4 sections. Message center, and then finally there is a demographic and document section, so we can upload various policies. We've got the employee handbook, we've got the Denver Metro protocols, and a couple of other documents in the system already, and so this will be a document repository for frequently used items that you may need to download and have a copy of that particular document. And then obviously you can go in and change your password, you can do your calendar sync, you can view various other websites. So that's just a quickie overview of it in a PowerPoint. Any questions so far before we move on? I know everybody loves PowerPoint, so we're just going to lose that right now, and we'll go into the actual system itself. So again, this is what the system looks like. First initial, last name, and I have a sample employee that we built. So once you get into the system for the first time, and hopefully this is all still good. Yeah, I'm just going to dump that down there. All right, so this is the dashboard that you see when you first log on. Oh, that's not good. I don't like that. Then all the rest of my stuff goes away. All right, so this is the system dashboard that you see when you first log on. Again, like I talked about, it's got some quick view screens of everything that's important to you, your certifications and your qualifications. So your certifications are all of the pieces of paper that you have, like your driver's license, your CPR card, your IV cert, your EVOC cert, as well as the expiration date. If you have a IV cert, for example, those don't expire. You'll just see an expiration date of 2099 on those. But for everything else that you have, you should see actual certifications and your actual certification date. When they're about ready to expire, you'll start getting those notices at 60, 30, and 10 days. Some of you have already received those. And then the qualifications are all of the areas where you're allowed to work within Stadium Medical. So this particular sample employee that we've built is qualified as a limo care driver, as an IFT EMT, and as a Pepsi EMT. So as you go in and you review your certifications and your qualifications, make sure that you double check this information, and if you think that you are qualified at Dick's Sporting Goods Park or Colorado Convention Center or one of the other venues, or something doesn't look right here, please get a hold of Bev. She will confirm where you're cleared to work. This also drives the information as to where you can pick up shifts. So if you are just listed as a limo care driver or an IFT EMT, those are the only shifts that you're going to be able to see as available for you to bid on down here. And then that also ties to the certifications. So if you are a limo care driver, the 2 certifications required for that are obviously a driver's license and a CPR card. If you are a EMT, it's a driver's license, CPR card, your state certification, and EVOC. And if any of those expire, your CPR expires, for example, this will turn red, and then you will no longer see EMT shifts available for you to bid on. So if you can't see anything to bid on, double check your certifications because something might be expired. Any pending shift swaps will be listed on your dashboard, your open shifts to pick up, and you can do quick jumps to areas. So if you want to go into the actual pickup screen section, you can just click on that little icon in the corner, and it'll take you directly in there. And you can also see there are tabs that begin to appear up here on the top as you open different views. And as you move back and forth, it's just you can flip back and forth between screens pretty easily that way. So that's this little icon here. Your message mailbox, your time off requests, and your availability are all listed on the dashboard. In the menus, so you'll see the dashboard like we just went over. You'll see an online time clock. Your online time clock is where you will punch in and punch out if you are using the mobile device. So you're using your phone to punch in and punch out. The one thing to keep in mind about this, and we're working on this with the app developer at this point, right now the online time clock does not appear in the mobile version of the My Favorites screen. But what you'll see on your phone is another button that says Show the Desktop Version. And if you click that, then it brings you to the full web version, and then you'll see your online time clock. So make sure that, and that should hopefully be fixed in the next month or so, so it won't be a long time issue. But if you are punching in with your phone, you actually have to use the desktop version on your phone in order for the view to be correct for you to see this online time clock feature. Also in your favorites, there are little stars here on various things. And so if there's something that you use all the time, you can pop it up into your favorites. Like if you want to send messages to people, you can click on the send message star, and then it will appear up here as a favorite in the top part of your menu items. And then you can manage those favorites by moving them up or down, picking which is going to be your home screen, or you can make them go away again just by selecting them and choosing delete, and then they'll pop back out of your favorite area. So that's just a quick way of moving things up and down in your menus based on what you use most often. Okay. In the Message Center, we're going to skip over the schedule info for just a second. In the Message Center, you'll see your message folders, your inbox and outbox. You'll also get little icons up here on the top right if you do have new messages. And when you actually need to send a message, you can go in and just pick somebody off of the message list. So say, for example, Sean, if I needed to send you a message, I could just flip down here and I can find you in the message folder, and then I can start typing a message, and that'll go to just you only. There is a message count. I think it's 2048 is the total character count that you can put into a message up here. So you can't draw or write a novel to somebody, but you can put a decent message in there if you need to. Or if you're looking to cover a shift, you can pick a group of individuals, either the admin group, all field staff, EMTs, everyone in the entire system, limo care, drivers, and paramedics. So if I choose paramedics and type a message in, it's going to send a message to just the paramedics in the system. Okay. You can also attach a file if you need to that particular message. We're going to leave this running for the time being, and hopefully people won't abuse it, but just make sure that you're aware that we'll watch this, and please don't spam your fellow employees. Nobody likes that, obviously. All right, moving down the list into the General Info tab. So here's where your schedule info is. Like we talked about. So this particular employee, sample employee, has got a couple of shifts. They've got a shift on 122 and 124. Those are in the past. If they had any future shifts, then this giveaway button would be lit up in blue here. If you wanted to give away a shift, if you couldn't work a shift anymore, you can click the giveaway button. What that will do is it will put your particular shift into the bid system so that other people can bid on it. It will also send a message to the scheduler that you want to try and get rid of that shift. But keep in mind that this shift is your shift, and it will stay here on your schedule until such time as somebody has, one, bid for it, and two, picked it up, or a scheduler has assigned that shift to somebody else. So as long as it's listed here, it's your shift, you're expected to show up for your shift. Don't think you can give away a shift and just not show up by clicking the giveaway button. Your shift pickup requests and your shift swap requests, so this is anything that you bid on. You can look at the status of your bids. So this shift on January 30th here that I bid on for an IFT shift from 15 to 0100, you can see an X next to. That means I didn't get that shift, and so I'm not going to work it. If I did get that shift awarded to me, it would appear up here in my schedule. And then this particular shift has a status of question mark, as well as the other bids that I put in place. And so that just means that the scheduler hasn't reviewed that shift and awarded it yet to anybody. Once that happens, once shifts are awarded, in addition to appearing here as your normal shifts or shifts you didn't get, you will get either an email or a text message based on how you have the system set up, awarding those shifts to you. Okay. You can also see your shift swaps that are pending. So you can see right here, I'm trying to give away my January 31st shift to Karen Carr, but she hasn't accepted it yet. And I tried to give away a 25th shift to Robert Mason, which is now in the past. He didn't accept it. Time off requests, if you have any, will be listed here. Any vacation time that you've asked for, as well as what you've listed as your shift availability, will all be listed in this one screen. You can look ahead by day. So if you look at a particular day, for today, you can see all of the shifts that are going on for today and who's working in all of those particular shifts. You can also look by 2-week or by full week period. If I look by week period, it's just going to show everybody who's on a particular shift. Anything that's black is somebody else working. Anything that's red is not available to you because it's conflicted, because you're already on for that particular shift, so you can't work it. And then anything that's listed here in green are your shifts, and I don't have any green shifts listed here. You can also look by month view. If you look by month view, it looks much more like the traditional calendar that you are used to seeing in Crew Scheduler. You can see the entire month at a time by scrolling up and down. You can also go in and look at any particular area. So if you just want to look at events, you can just filter by the events calendar, or you can filter by the IFT calendar or the limo care calendar. One thing to keep in mind is all of the people have been built, so all the employees are in, all your certifications are in, all your capabilities are in, but not all of the people are in their shifts yet. So although all the shifts are in, not everybody has been plugged into those shift slots yet. So you're going to see a lot of availability over the next 2-3 days. If you happen to log into the system, that should all get cleared up in the next day or two as we start mirroring the calendars in both systems. And then finally, on this particular screen, this is the calendar view that I showed earlier. Again, you can see your particular shifts that you are scheduled for in blue. You can see other calendars here, in this case, the continuing education screen, which is all in orange. You can toggle stuff on or off if you want to. So, for example, if you want to print a copy of this, but you just want your shifts, you can toggle off the CE stuff and then just print a copy with your shift. You can also look by week view or single day view just by clicking the icons on the top up here. So it's pretty self-explanatory for how the calendar works. So here is the personal profile section. Again, one of the first things that I want everybody to do when you log in is go into the personal profile section, make sure that everything looks okay. Check your personal information here. It's divided into 4 different sections. The first one is your personal information, your name, your address, the phone numbers that we have, your emergency contact information. For most of the people, we don't have emergency contact information in the system yet, so we'd ask that you just go in and update that. If you do want to submit an update, you just click the Submit Update button, and then you can update anything that needs to be updated. So I can go in here and say, actually, my phone number is 617-4703, so I'm going to change that. Your text service, so this is important to make sure that it's accurate based on who your carrier is, because you can receive both email notifications and or text notifications depending on how you want to have things set up. And so your carrier needs to be set here so that they go out properly. Update your contact information, and then you can put a note in if you needed to, please note new phone number. And then submit that. It's going to ask if you want to confirm that. And then the button will change to this profile update request is pending, and that'll initiate a workflow which will send Bernie a notification because Bernie is the keeper of all things demographic. She will get that email, will look at the changes that you've asked to make, either click the approve or deny button, and then once she's done that, you will get a notice back that your profile update has been accepted or denied, and then you'll get the button back here that will allow you to make another change if you need to. That's the way the personal information works. Right below it is the vacation and sick balances. Right now they should say 0 for all of the full-time employees. So once the last payroll punches are done on February 4th, which is the last time that we're going to be using Crew Scheduler, we'll run a report and then we'll upload all of the vacation and sick balances for full-time employees. So that's where you should see that information. On the bottom of this screen is a tardy and attendance total. This is a system or a part of the area that we're not implementing right away, but we probably will relatively soon. It will just track your tardies, track your attendances, and then any corrective action associated with those. If you had a question about when you were late or when you were tardy, you can go in here and it'll show you the actual dates. There's a point system tied to that. So, for example, if you're tardy, it's worth 2 points. If you're late, if you're absent, it's worth 5 points. And based on a certain point system, we will probably start implementing a corrective action process around that. So just know that that's coming sometime in the future. On the top right, this is where your qualifications are. So again, double check your qualifications, make sure they're accurate for where you believe you have the capability of working. If you see one of these that is red, then there's a problem with that qualification. There's a particular certification that is not up to date in order for that qualification to allow you to work in that area. And then down on the bottom right are the actual certifications that you carry, your CPR card, your driver's license, your EVOC, the date that you were cleared for IFT, your IV cert, your state cert, and as those expire, they'll turn red, you'll get those notices, and then you can update them just by going into the system, click Submit New Request, and say you've got a new driver's license, you can come in here and just say, okay, my driver's license is changed. Its number is 920055167. That's scary that I actually know that off the top of my head. I got it on my last birthday, and it expires on my birthday in 2023. I could put a note in that says, please see new driver's license. And then you can attach the file, which actually is your driver's license copy. You take a picture of it on your phone or scan it into your computer and just grab that particular PDF and attach it. And then when you click upload, it's going to attach that document as your new driver's license. That also goes into a workflow, which then goes to the functional area of the individual that is over your department. So Bev for events and Danielle for limo care or Megan for pretty much everything else. You can see copies of your certifications here. If you've uploaded them, there'll be a little window here, and when you double click it, it'll just show a copy of your McLovin driver's license that you got on the Las Vegas Strip as a fake that you uploaded so that you could work for us. So that's where all of that kind of stuff lives. Again, just go in, make sure that everything is correct, and if there is a problem, reach out to one of us so that we can fix that for you. Here's the document repository. We kind of talked a little bit about that. So the protocols that are in here are currently the Denver Metro protocols, the ketamine protocol. Under policies, there is an employee handbook policy. And then there's also a private folder in here. The private folder is only visible by you and people in administration. This is where you can exchange personal documents back and forth. So for example, if you needed to document a doctor's note for a sick day or something along those lines, as well as this is also where your certifications will start to accumulate. So as you upload a new copy of your driver's license, that actual physical copy will land here in this private folder of yours that only you can see, whereas the other policies and protocols folders are public folders that everybody can see. The message center, this is just another way to get into the message center. You can see your particular messages down on the bottom, and then you can send a message to the scheduler if it's about your schedule, or to a group of individuals just like we did before. Just another way to get into the same system. Quick access into the bulletin board. I'm not sure what we're going to use the bulletin board at this point. It's just a public posting. You can put a message subject and a message body in and attach something to it. This will appear on people's dashboards. I imagine we will probably use this for postings about new policies or new protocols. We'll probably allow employees to post things like garage sales and those sorts of things up here. So we'll just kind of watch that and see how that works. But it's just a public posting portal for you to post messages to everybody without actually sending them an email about that message, if that's more appropriate. All right, in the request availability section, so this is where you're going to pick up shifts. So as we talked about before, everything in the entire system is based on 2-week pay period sections. And the schedule is going to start being published in 2-week pay period sections also. We used to publish it by month. By the 15th of the month, you got the entire next month's schedule. Now it's going to be a rolling 2-week pay period, but my understanding is they're going to try and keep that in lumps of 2 also. So in essence, 28 days or almost an entire month published in advance at all times, kind of on a rolling period. And then you'll get a notice in your system when the next pay period is published. So you could just go into a particular pay period, look at that particular schedule, and this is where you're going to pick stuff up. Will shift bids still be due on the same day? So right now we're working through that process. Again, I think what we're probably going to end up doing is still publishing 2 weeks in advance, or I mean an entire month in advance with the 2-week pay periods, with bids being required by the 15th or the 20th of the month. That's still up in flux, but you will get notices as to how that's going to work, Melissa. I'm not quite sure how Bev is going to manage that. I think it's probably going to be more closer to a rolling 2-week period moving forward. So you go into your pay week here, and then say, for example, I want to scroll down and I want to pick up this particular EMT shift on Thursday, February the 8th. I just click pick up on that particular thing. I can say, I really want to work this. And click confirm. And then once I've done that, you can see on the top now it's shown that I've successfully submitted a bid request along with the comments that I added. That'll go to Dusty, and then as Dusty starts filling in the schedule, she can look at an individual schedule day. She can see everybody that has bid on that particular shift, and then she will start to award them based on the same criteria that we do currently about whether you're a full-time or part-time employee, and whether it will give you full-time hours or give you overtime in order to pick up that shift. So that won't change as to how we award bids. If you bid on several shifts, and I don't see any down here because I don't have any shifts for this particular employee in the future. If I was already scheduled on February 10th, all of these blue pickups would say conflict. And so it will not allow you to actually bid on a shift that you are already scheduled for on that particular day. So it won't let you double book yourself. It's kind of nice that way. If you do bid on a shift, like for example this one on the 8th, and then all of a sudden I decide, no, I don't really want to bid on that shift, I can't work after all, you can just go in and click this red X next to your bid and click confirm, and poof, that bid then goes away, and you're no longer bidding on that particular shift. So you can add and subtract pretty easily that way. And then you can flip back and forth for either individual days, if you just want to look at a particular day, or you can look at entire pay periods like we said, okay? So that's how bidding on shifts work. Pretty simple. Next up is requesting time off. So for full-time employees, if you have a particular day that you need off, same process. You can just say that I want a vacation day, and I want that day on February 14th because I like Valentine's Day off. And I can say, you know, please let me have this day off. I need to buy flowers for my baby. Oops, helps if you spell baby right. And then click submit, and poof, that vacation request then goes into Megan. If it's a multiple day request, you can click extended period and put a date range in. One of the things to keep in mind, like I alluded to at the beginning, if you're a full-time employee, this will look at your vacation balance. And if you ask for a vacation day that is next week and you don't have any vacation time available in your bank, you're going to get a notice here that says, sorry, you don't have any vacation time available to you. You won't be able to ask for this particular day off. But it is also smart enough to know that if you are asking for a day 6 months from now, it will calculate your estimated accrual between now and 6 months from now, and then allow you to put those vacation days in based on what it anticipates your balance will be between now and then, keeping in mind any other vacation days that you've already asked for. And then the same thing, if you don't need that day off anymore, you can just go in and click the red X, and boom, that vacation request then gets erased. Okay. Shift swaps, this is where you're going to go in and swap shifts for individuals. You just choose shift swap. You choose my shift, and it's going to list any shifts that you have. This particular employee doesn't have any, so I can't swap any. And then you just pick from the list of who is going to actually work that shift for you. And then you can put in a note that says, you know, hey, we agreed that you will work this for me, and send it. And Alan's going to get this message. He's going to, once he sees it, he'll approve it. Once he approves it, then it will go to Dusty. Dusty will also approve it. And once Dusty has approved it, then you will come out of that shift in the schedule, and Alan will go into the shift in that schedule, or whoever you've picked there will go into that shift. You can also split shifts if you need to. So it does have the capability in here of once you look at a particular shift, there's another button that pops in here. So if you have a 10-hour shift and 2 people are working for you, you choose both people. Both people have to approve it if you have somebody at the beginning half of your shift and somebody at the second half. So it does allow splitting shifts if you need, or if you just want somebody to work the second half of your shift, you can still show that you're on the first half and somebody else is working the second half. So it does support that. Shift availability. So this is the way the shift availability screen works. There are 2 sections here. The upper section is for each pay period. So you can scroll back and forth for a particular pay period. So for if this pay period, I know that I want to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday during the day. It's split between days and nights, kind of roughly. You can also put a message in that says, you know, work me as much as you can. But I have to be off by 1900. And so then you can just say you don't make yourself available on night shifts, or if you know that you're not available on February 10th and you're not available on February 11th or 12th, you can put not available in, and it will send, put that into the system so that as we start to award shifts, we can see when you're available and not available. The difference between the top and the bottom is the top is by pay period. The bottom is a permanent availability and permanent not availability. So you don't have to go in every 2-week period and update your availability unless you really want to. If you know that you want to work every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you also never ever want to work Sundays because you go to church every Sunday, you can just fill out the bottom half of the schedule this way, and it will show then permanently moving forward you're available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on each pay period and not on any Sunday. Oops, I did that wrong. That way. Again, if you were to indicate this, for example, because it's by pay period, this would show that you are not available the second Sunday of every pay period, but it would not indicate anything for the first Sunday of each pay period. So if you don't want to work on any Sunday, you need to go in and make sure that you're double checking or clicking both of the Sundays in the permanent availability calendar. And then you can scroll up and backwards that way if you want to, just for particular days. Okay, that's the way availability works. And then once you have your availability in, it will start showing you that availability in a list view down below, and you can remove it just as simply as you added it that way if you want. Okay. All right, so that's shift availability. Let's talk about time management. So your time card, when you go into time management, you'll see your time card here. It will show you all of the shifts that you've worked for a particular pay week, all of the shifts that you were scheduled for, and all of the shifts that you actually punched for. You can see here on January 22nd, this sample employee punched in the morning via the punch clock, but he missed his punch out. So his time clock or his time card is not correct. We're going to start sending out requests every other week for you to log in, double check your time card, make sure that everything looks correct. If it does, you can just say, yes, the time card looks correct and click submit. If it doesn't, you can put a note in as to why it doesn't look correct and there's a problem and click submit. One of the things to keep in mind about our new time card system is with Crew Scheduler, you have the capability of going in after the fact and manually entering your time for any particular shift. That's how we dealt with venue shifts where there was no time clock available. That capability is going away, and you will no longer be able to manually enter your time yourself after the fact for any shift at all. So it is mandatory that you punch in. It's mandatory that you punch out for each of your shifts. That's why we've turned on the mobile phone capability for punching in and punching out. If you do miss a shift, which we understand happens sometimes, you get busy, you forget, whatever happens, the only way to correct this particular missing punch is to get a hold of Megan, send her an email, or call her and have her manually fix your time for that particular missed punch. The other thing that happens is when you miss a punch for a scheduled shift, Megan gets an email notification that says that you missed a punch, so she may be reaching out to you before you even reach out to her. But as I said in the email to everybody, if you become one of the frequent flyers who was constantly not able to punch in and punch out effectively, you will likely not be on her Christmas card list for very much longer. So don't be that person that she constantly has to chase to make sure that your time card is correct, because you will quickly lose most favored status, I have no doubt. Melissa says, when I try and pull up the punch clock on my phone, it says ePro Scheduler plus time clock error. The computer is not configured as a time clock. Is it just because I have no shifts at the moment? It might be. I need to double check that. Are you going in and on your telephone choosing the show the desktop version of that? And then you can see the actual time clock? Okay, I will look into that and find out. It may be because you have no shifts scheduled, and so it doesn't recognize that particular phone, but if that ends up being an issue, we'll just double check that. So I'm going to table that question. All right, thanks, Melissa. I will note that as an issue. All right, so again, that's kind of enough about punching. Make sure that you're punching properly, and then if there is a problem with your punch, double check with Megan. Same thing if you are scheduled at 8 o'clock in the morning and it's 8:10 and you're not here yet, you're beyond that 7-minute window, the system will auto start firing off notices to supervisors and managers so that we can reach out to you and say, where the heck are you? So it's a much tighter system than we had previously. Here's the online time clock like we talked about. And you should be able to see this from your desktop, and then hopefully it'll work. So I'll just confirm whether it does here in the next day or two. And then finally in the miscellaneous section, you can change your password. Here's where the website URLs that for common links are going to be if we end up putting them here. Another version of your dashboard is just a quick button to get to there. And then finally, the setup calendar sync is the last place that this is where you want to actually link to your phone. So if you choose an Apple iPhone, for example, it'll just walk you through step by step how you attach your calendar to your iPhone. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to click copy link. You're going to go in here. It's going to say go into the settings, go into mail, contacts, and calendars. You're going to click add account and add a subscribed calendar, and then you're going to paste in that URL link that you just copied from the previous page before, and poof, your calendar is now in your phone. So if you have any questions or problems with that particular feature, again, also reach out. We're happy to help you get your phones set up if need be. Okay? So that's kind of a very quick 40,000-foot view of the new scheduling system. Like I said, it's got a bunch of pretty cool new features and capabilities that we've never had before. Anybody have any particular questions that I didn't go over? I'm going to unmute some people here. Are we also going to have issues clocking out after the grace period? I think I've only been able to clock out on time once for limo care. So the only thing when you are clocking out, let me flip over here, is if you are within that 7 minutes time frame, you'll be able to just hit the in and out button without putting a timekeeper note. If you are outside of that 7-minute grace window, the only thing that you need to do to get past that, Sean, is actually put a note in as to why you're late, and then it'll let you punch out. Good question. Okay. Any other questions before we drop off here? All right, thanks everybody. Again, please log on, make sure that you can see the system. Over the next 2-3 days, you'll start seeing yourself populated into all of your regular shifts. Oh, one of the things that I forgot to mention, pretty important, like I said in the email, we are planning on going live at this point on February 5th. That's next Monday. We are going to ask people to do side-by-side punches. So for one entire pay period for 2 weeks, and we're going to ask you to both punch into Crew Scheduler and to ePro for each shift that you work. That'll allow us to run a side-by-side payroll, make sure that everything is working okay the way it's supposed to. We don't anticipate any problems. But once you've done side-by-side punches for 2 weeks, then starting on Monday, February the 19th, then we will kill Crew Scheduler completely and we'll be 100% into the ePro system. So kind of a 2-week side-by-side to begin with starting next week and then live on the 19th. All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate you climbing on. And again, if you have any issues or problems, feel free to reach out and we'll try and get it fixed for you. And Melissa, I will follow up on that mobile punch capability here. All right, take care, guys. Have a good night.